This next question, actually, the same question, the same problem has come into me from two different subscribers recently. I'll read Fran's note here, but exactly the same situation is happening with Alan as well. So Fran writes, we just had our deck stained this past May with bare cedar natural tone, photos included. Now our deck looks like the bottom 3 photos. We've had thick fog, and every morning our decks have been wet. If you wet the deck, there are white spots that go away, but as soon as they dry, the spots come back. When we finally get some days of sunshine, should we put some clear deck stain on the decks? We're so disappointed, as they looked beautiful for a couple of weeks. Now this has happened. We've used the same stain for years and never had a problem previously. So Alan has the same problem. Same sort of some white blotches and also some darker areas which look pretty poor. I think two things are going on here. First of all, the dark areas. In both cases, in Fran's case and in Alan's case, the old finish was stripped and a deck brightener was added to bring up the natural bright color of the wood, and then the stain was applied. But in neither case was sanding done. And looking at the photos they've sent me, it looks very much like some of the gray from weathering, because the previous finish had failed, some of that weathering was not completely removed or brightened with the brightener, and that area absorbs more stain, so it gets darker. I see this sort of thing all the time. And there's really no substitute for sanding back to bare wood on a deck that you're refinishing. I wouldn't recommend starting that sanding process right from the get-go. It's far better to strip off all of the old finish you can get off with some sort of water-soluble deck stripper. They make non-toxic ones that won't hurt your gardens or your lawn. And then after it dries, after you've pressure washed that gunk off, let it dry, bone dry, and then sand it with an 80 grit abrasive, ideally in a 6-inch random orbit sander. That's a handheld sander, but it's pretty powerful and it can cover a lot of ground. So that's the solution, or rather the prevention for the gray streaking that these people are having trouble with. But also I've noticed that unless a deck finish is fully dry, and that can take 3 or 4 or 5 days, it can be susceptible to whitening from moisture. It's almost like it absorbs some of the moisture and it makes it look cloudy and white. Now, in my experience, if you leave things alone and let full drying occur, once wet weather stops, that problem will most likely go away. At least it has in my experience. So, that's the issue with decks. And as I said, fairly common problem. But sanding, that's the way around it.